Tonight, the push to identify and expunge names of minors and foreigners who managed to bypass security checks and sneak onto the newly compiled voters register.
We are confident that the register that will be used for the 2020 elections will be a wholly owned Ghanaian enterprise.
Tonight, we hear from the Electoral Commission on how they plan to identify these names and also the political parties who are accused of facilitating such illegality. And Top Story is always brought to you by Gassim Cement, the nation builder, and Vodafone. The future is exciting ready. Tonight, the Electoral Commission is busy at work, pursuing avenues to identify and expunge the names of minors and foreigners who managed to bypass security checks and sneak onto the newly compiled voters register. Now, the entire exercise was a quest to compile a credible database of Ghanaians of sound mind who are at least 18 years of age. The Electoral Commission had argued at the Supreme Court that using the Ghana card and the passport as proof of identification will ensure a credible electoral roll. After 38 days of registration, the EC says somehow foreigners and minors are still among the 16.9 million persons who have registered. Listen to EC Chairperson, Madam Evans Mensah.
It is evident that most of the challenge cases were from border regions, with the exception of Ahafo, and it gives reason to assume that the challenge cases relate to citizenship issues emanating from the infiltration of foreigners. At a later date, we will shed more light on our findings. The Commission is mindful of the infiltration of foreigners at a number of our registration centers. Additionally, we are aware that a number of minors have found their way into the register. We are confident that the challenge processes initiated at all districts throughout the country will unearth these illegal persons and rid the register of those who do not qualify to be thereon. We are confident that the register that will be used for the 2020 elections will be a wholly owned Ghanaian enterprise, reflecting qualified Ghanaians and Ghanaians only.
So how did the Electoral Commission come to learn of this, that in fact there are minors and foreigners on the roll, that they just compiled, just wrapped up just this past Sunday?
Monitors present on the ground for 38 days who provide us with daily reports on what is happening on the ground, and in some cases we are even videos and so on are shared with us in some instances. So we are very mindful of that, and I'm sure that you are also aware, because this has also been discussed in the media landscape. Even today we see in some of the newspapers 2 foreigners jailed for possessing voter ID cards. So it's not something that is oblivious to us, but we are aware because we receive those reports from our monitors on the field, and I know that this is not a secret. As to the number, we are not able to say so now, and I think I mentioned that at the right time, when we are done with the challenge cases and the reports have been received, we will be able to give you a breakdown of the challenges per category, whether it's for minors, foreigners, underage persons who are not of sound mind, and so on. So I'm sure that in the coming weeks is something that we would share with you.
On the telephone line with me right now is Dr. Serbo Kweku, who of course is the Director of Electoral Services at the EC. Also with me is Kodeo's Rodose Afo. She's a project manager there. Dr. Kweku, let me start with you. I mean, this was the exercise which was to deal with precisely these challenges of foreigners and underage individuals on the previous roll to make this particular role for 2020 more credible. So how did we still end up in the place where the previous document and register was?
Thank you, Evans, and good evening to our listeners. The issue about foreigners and underage one is a stakeholder responsibility. It is difficult for you to look at somebody and say the person is a foreigner or the person is underage. That's why we instituted the challenge process. And as you were told, more than 30,000 people were challenged. So it tells you that people who have been challenged will go through the adjudication process, and those who are not qualified will be deleted. Then there have been instances too that people who are suspected with foreigners too were seen in videos and the rest. So we are studying those videos and we will do the needful that if we are convinced, we will object to those names during exhibition time for them to be given the opportunity to come and defend their grounds that they are qualified with voters, either by nationality or by age. So all these things are part of the processes. But for us to speak, we have about 30,000 plus people whose registration have been challenged, and we are working on them.
We also changed a lot of the fundamental documents that you require, precisely because of this problem that the Electoral Commission anticipated. So the Ghana card and the passport were the sole documents. We know they were controversially excluded the birth certificate because, of course, it's such a questionable document to be used according to the Supreme Court. These were the changes that were cited as, I guess, a fix to this problem. Did they fail also, would you say?
Those who have been arrested so far, some of them have passports and Ghana card. And the process is that having the passport or Ghana card is not an end in itself. You may hold the Ghana card, but you could still be challenged on your nationality or date of birth, on your age or something like that, and while you'll be given opportunity to defend it. So there are some people who hold Ghana card, but clearly it has been established that they are not Ghanaians.
I mean, but isn't it also a case, because I'm looking at the figures, as of day 35, 6.2
call has been taken hold.
6.2 million of the people who registered. Do I still have Dr. Sribo on the line?
I'm on the line.
Great. I mean, I look at the numbers. As of day 35, 6.2 million of those who registered through the guarantor system. Isn't it possibly where the weakness really was, that we expanded the guarantor system for this, and this is the result of this, that it's such a non-rigorous system that people can sneak through using that route?
There are some people who have been arrested for guaranteeing for unqualified people. But what I was saying is that in each of the proof of eligibility, be it Ghana card, passport, or guarantor system, people still abuse the system. So some people have abused the system. They have been challenged. Those who guaranteed for people who were non-Ghanaians, we are chasing them.
These minors who got onto the register, I'm curious, if they would have simply, either they came to guarantor or they would have presented one of the cards necessary to register, which should have shown their ages. That should definitely have been picked up.
In this world, some people have made up their mind not to do what is right. And that's why we have the laws to deal with such people. Be it Ghana card, passport, or guarantee system. Why can't we be people of integrity and do what is right? The law is there, so the law will catch up with them and we'll deal with them.
Your friend from Cordero is on the line. Kindly, Dr. Kweku, hold the line for me. Road, I'll say AFO with Cordero. You surprised to hear that minors are still on the register? That we just compiled, and foreigners as well?
Hello, Ivan.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, so I mean, this is quite unfortunate, but we know that, I mean, right from 2012 when the biometric technology was being introduced, it was clear that these are problems that the technology was not going to address. And so we have to work on other mechanisms for addressing the roots of the problem, which is the national identification system. Okay? I mean, what is the challenge? What is the...
But Dr. Kweku says that there are, in fact, if you look at the numbers, the overwhelming majority use the national identification, the Ghana card, which you're referring to, 60.33%. And yes, some of them have been found, at least now, investigations will confirm that, maybe people who are foreigners who are still holding on to it. So it's not foolproof by itself.
Yes, so there are two things. Again, it still goes back to the issue of the Ghana card. When can we have the registration of those who are currently living completed, so that at least we know that the next generation of Ghanaians who are coming through, we are getting accurate data about them. But if currently we are still struggling with capturing even the adult population on that national ID system, which means that we are going to still make room for a lot more people to come through that process based on the word of mouth of other Ghanaians, other people who are available and willing to say, yes, they are Ghanaians and they should be registered onto that national ID system, then it's going to be a long, winding route for all of us, because clearly this is the only means by which we can effectively address the problem that people who are being born are effectively registered, and we have a credible database of people who are living in Ghana and who are Ghanaians. But if it's going to take us forever to register people, then it will take a long time for us to address this problem, because there are people who have been caught and they had passports. Some of the people who have been prosecuted already, some of them had passports. Okay, why do we have that? Why is it that we can't make our system so robust and address the root of the problem, but rather we are addressing it from other perspectives? So these are real issues that we have to look at. Related to that is also the issue of ghost names, again, which we are not going to be effectively able to address until we deal with an effective system of registering births and deaths in this country. So we have to look at the hardcore solutions that will help us address these issues. Otherwise, they will keep coming up all the time.
Dr. Kweku, so clearly we are where we are with the new register. A direct question. If this is the case, is this register credible?
It's credible in the sense that there's no system in this world which is 100% perfect. But clearly you can see that the number of challenge cases is less than 2%. So that tells you that it's not a perfect system, but compared to it's credible.
It leads to the question, what is the exact plan to first identify these minors and foreigners, and second, get them removed?
So there are two phases. The first phase is the challenge system. Those who have been challenged, and we are working around it. There are some people too who we identify later. That's why during the exhibition we have the objection process. So anybody who has somebody who's in the register that somebody knows that the person is not qualified, by the fact that the person is not a Ghanaian and the age, what have you, has the right to object to name during the exhibition. So we believe that by the time we finish with the challenge education process and the objection process, we will have cleaned out these unwanted names from the register.
So as we speak, there are 30,000 people who registered whose, of course, eligibility to be on the register is the subject of some adjudication. And so that will determine whether they get to stay on or removed.
Exactly.
But then there's also, once the exhibition comes on, whether Ghanaians generally turn up at the exhibition centers and also raise the alarm if they see names there that are not supposed to be in there. Of course, none of these processes it's completely perfect. And so your own estimation, do we know what you're estimating to be these numbers of people who probably may be foreigners and people who may be minors beyond just the 30,000 challenge form that you still have?
No, until somebody exposes the person, the machine will not be able to identify the age of foreigner from one another. So we will still demand Ghanaians to help identify foreigners and individuals in the register. If we don't do that, then it means that all those who are on it are assumed to be qualified. But those who have done the multiple registration, the deduplication system will flush them out.
Has the EC set a date yet for the exhibition?
Yes, we will do it in September.
Okay, and how long are you anticipating this will last?
Exhibition will take 8 days.
And just for those who may not be conversant with the exhibition process, what is it exactly and what are you supposed to do?
The issue activity that take place during the exhibition. One of it is that where you go and find your name in the register for exhibition is where you will vote. So exhibition helps people to identify their polling stations. Again, some people might have seen mistakes in the spelling of their names. Some even the sex was wrongly captured. Some the date of birth was wrongly captured. So all these things will be rectified during exhibition. Again, some people, as I said already, might have identified people whose names should have been in the system by the reason that they were not qualified, either nationality, age, residency, and whatever. All these people are supposed to be objected to be flushed out. Then we have some people to whom may pass on between now to the exhibition period and expect people to go and also object to such disease names. All these things are going to be done during the exhibition period.
Mr. Kwaku, just a quick thought from you. Beyond the Federal Electoral Services, you've been at the Electoral Commission doing this job for more than 2 decades. What recommendation would you propose to deal with this problem in a more substantive matter? We had a lot of significant changes for this particular register, which the EC pushed quite hard. The Ghana card was one. It went to court. The Supreme Court pronounced on it. And yet, we still have that problem. Is there anything more you want to see for the next time that we do this? Hello, Dr. Siribo. I think I lost him on the line. Do I still have Dr. Siribo on the line? Okay. I mean, let me bring in Rhoda Afo. Rhoda, so clearly from what we've seen and based on experience, the political parties seem to be very complicit in facilitating very aggressively the registration of minors and political parties. Has the sanctions been deterrent enough?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's quite disappointing and quite sad that because of electoral advantage, anybody at all living in this country would want somebody who is underage or somebody who is not Ghanaian will facilitate that person's registration. Because, I mean, you raised the issue about the fact that some of these people got in through the Ghana card. The question is, how did they get the Ghana card? At some point in time, some people facilitated the activities of these people. And it's quite disappointing and unfortunate. Now, in terms of how best we can deter, already it's good. Some people have been sentenced to jail already. A few foreigners whose cases already have been prosecuted have been sentenced. We need to throw more light. We need to highlight some of these issues, probably in the media. Send the positive, the clear signal that these are acts that if you are caught, you will be sanctioned, and we need to see these sanctions being meted out. Now, then the other issue is about those that are accomplices. So for those who have been prosecuted so far, what has happened to their accomplices? Because until we bring all of those people also to book, in many of the reported cases, there were people who guaranteed for them. We have to make sure that all these people are also brought to book so that if people can realize the consequences of their actions, then at least you can be certain that you are trying to deter others from it. But at the root of the problem is the issue of the identification system that we still have to look at. Like I said, I mean, if the Electoral Commission could take 6 weeks to register close to 17 million people, what is NIA doing up to this point? We have a lot of the population, those who are under 15, still not registered. How are we making sure that the system completely takes off and that we are addressing the problem effectively? Other than that, we will have to have this problem with us for some time.
Rhoda, thank you very much. She is with Kudeyu. I'm joined right now by the Director of Elections of the governing New Patriotic Party. Will be joined shortly by the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Peter Tokono. But just before that, I want to quickly bring you some statistics to give you a sense of which areas across the country and regions have the most suspect registrants on the register currently. The EC has told us that they are looking at 30,462 suspect cases, right? Because these are the cases that had been flagged, and the challenge process has been triggered in these 30,462 cases, and that's what they're looking at for now. The exhibition will bring up its own flagging of additional names that then could also go to the process of adjudication and final settlement on removal. The region with the highest number of suspect registrants on the register currently, the new one, is the Ashanti region with 3,922 suspect registrants. When I say suspect registrants, these are individuals whose registration has been challenged, right? The Ashanti region leads with the number of suspect registrants, followed by the Greater Accra, followed by Central region, with well, let me revise that. The Greater Accra region leads with 5,302 cases, suspect registrants. That is 0.15% of the total number of people on the register. Greater Accra leads 5,302. This is followed by the Ashanti, which is 3,922, as I said earlier. Then that is closely followed by the Central region with 3,454 suspect registrants on the register. And then in fourth place is the Volta region with 3,290. So if you look at the regions with the highest number of suspect individuals who still are on the register, who will be adjudicated and decisions made on, Greater Accra is leading, followed by the Ashanti. Third is the Central, and then fourth is the Volta region. Let me bring in Evans Mensah. Evans Mensah, are you surprised to learn tonight that minors are still on this register? As for foreigners, I mean, the Immigration Service had arrested a few recently, and so we knew that was possible. But the EC is confirming that it is the case, but also there are minors too.
Yes, good evening, Evans, and thank you for having me. I'm not surprised. I mean, it's expected that you have some infractions. At least we observe some infractions across the registration center. So, yes, we will expect a bit of 1%, 2% of infractions on the register. That's why we have other levels of cleaning. Because when the EC does the exhibition, it allows political parties to have the opportunity to also object to some names that are not supposed to be on the register. So we are on the lookout for those ones that are not supposed to be on the register. And so that is where we are for now.
Your stronghold of the Ashanti region is in second place with the largest number of suspect registrants on the register.
Yes, but that's what I said. I mean, we are not so surprised. You're having the total of, from the EC figures, the challenge figure is 32,762. That is 0.2% of the total registered figures. And so, as I said, we are still open. We will look out for those names and other names that the EC will publish at the exhibition stage, and all that the party will have to do to ensure that we have a more clean register for the presidential and parliamentary elections is achieved.
As a politician, do you accept the criticism that your kind facilitate this illegality?
Well, I, to some extent, what I'm so pleased about, and will commend all stakeholders in this whole arrangement, is that political parties, yes, the police service, the EC themselves, our agents, also facilitated the program for us to have a more cleaner register than we're going to have if the EC had not done a new voter register. Because we used to have 16.8 million. If the EC had not done a new register and was going to go ahead with the limited registration exercise, a possible more than 1.5 million to 2 million would have been added to the old register, giving us 80 million and above and close to 19 million. So, yes, there have been some infractions, but we still have the opportunity to ensure that we clean the system.
Now, a final question. I look at the numbers, and before this registration started, the MPP put quite a significant focus on the Volta region because of the allegations that people were going to be passing from Togo, etc., into the country to vote. If you look at the OT and Volta, in fact, Volta is a fourth in terms of the numbers behind Ashanti. And if you look at OT is 1,715 suspect individuals who may still be on the register. I mean, if you look at that, considering that it is not the highest or even the second highest, I think to disprove the concerns that you had before, that Volta Region OT has still been pretty okay with the allegations of people coming in from elsewhere to register.
Evans, our focus was not only on Volta region. Our focus was on all registration centers, that our agents must ensure that it is only Ghanaians of 18 years and above and of sound mind who reside within the electoral area who must have the right to register. And so we had oriented our agents, and they knew what they were supposed to do whilst at the registration center. And they observe as such. There have been some instances where people who were not eligible managed to get their names registered, and we challenged. For instance, the NDC candidate for Cape Coast North was challenged because he gave false information to secure voter ID card. At the adjudication level, the ID card was taken away from him, and the party expect that the police would take up the issue and get him prosecuted. There are other areas in Keita where the circuit court has passed judgment on some individuals, foreigners who try to get onto the electoral roll, and we expect that we will continue to ensure that we have a more clean register than we have had earlier. And I think that when we've done this, the good people of Ghana will make sure that they give Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo another term to transform Ghana. We know that in these elections, Nana Addo will say goodbye to Mr. John Mahama.
And that is Evans Mensah, who is the Director of Elections of the NDC. We're still working the phone line to see if we could get the NDC into this. Not yet. When we do, we'll hear your thoughts on the EC's owner sessions on this particular subject. Isn't it amazing when your network cares about you so much so that they do amazing things for you? You guessed it. I'm talking about the Vodafone Cash dropping all charges when you send money to all networks. Yes, you heard it right. It costs nothing. Absolutely nothing. When you send money via Vodafone Cash to all networks, just send any amount as many times as you want to any network and pay zero charges on the money sent. So go ahead, make payments, show your love, make contributions, send money, all you want via Vodafone Cash to all networks for free. Just dial *110# to send cash for free. Question is, are you ready?